Have you ever experienced the phenomenon of craving? That seemingly out of nowhere urge to eat something, ingest something, do something. Cravings can come in so many varieties. I swear, I used to be addicted to Facebook, and every time I'd make a post, I would crave the knowledge, did somebody reply? And I found myself constantly picking up my phone. Well, actually, back then, Facebook wasn't on my phone, was it? Constantly going to the computer to check, did somebody comment or like my post? And it was a craving. There was this urge that I could not stop that led me to checking to see if anybody had commented or liked or who. And I finally had to stop posting. I had to actually stop. I don't think I ever deleted my account, but I had to stop Facebook for a while. Now I'm very rarely even on Facebook because I can so easily fall into that again. But that craving, that pull, that urge was so strong that it really kind of dictated my day, especially a day if I happened to be not working. And it was so non-productive when I stopped drinking. Oh, I'm so lucky. I am lucky. I am grateful that my first weeks of sobriety, sleep was my friend. So we'd have dinner and I'd go to bed and I would sleep for 14 hours a night. Thank goodness I was able to sleep because I really didn't have to deal with those really bad cravings when I first gave up drinking. So I am forever grateful. I feel very blessed that I didn't have to go through that period because they were strong. They were bad. I wanted to crawl out of my skin, and that's why I would just go to bed. And how I could sleep, I really don't know. I can only guess that Spirit had my back for some reason. I was able to sleep through those cravings. Now that doesn't mean that I didn't have cravings beyond that, because I craved alcohol off and on for let's see. I'm 12 plus years sober. Have I had a craving this year? Yes. Yes, I have. I can think of twice when I had a craving. Neither time did they last very long. Once was over the summer. It was hot, and I had a craving for an ice cold beer. What did I do? Pretty sure I told Pam about it, and I talked to my husband about it when he got home. And even though it lasted about that long, and it came and went, and it was a little more than just a thought. There was that actual phenomenon of craving. But it didn't last, and I still did something about it. So I talked to 2 different people about it, even though it was gone by the time I talked to them. The other time I had a craving, it was in the fall, and it wasn't so much the craving for a drink per se, it was the craving of escape. What I was craving was the effect that alcohol could give me. And again, it lasted that long because thank goodness I have a very strong rememberer. So I know, I have no doubts what drinking would do for me again, to me. I would be gone. If I drink again, I have no doubt it will take me out, because it won't just be one drink. It would be the whole bottle. So I have a plan in place for those weird times when there is a craving. And I tell someone about it. I make myself accountable for my cravings, and it doesn't matter if it's craving a certain drink or if it's craving a certain effect. So I make myself accountable. And I seriously believe that if we have a plan in place, number one, it's going to keep us from falling for that trick, because that's what cravings are, right? Cravings are trying to trick us. They are that instant, immediate urge of wanting instant gratification. So I talk to someone when it's that detrimental craving. Because we have all kinds of cravings that aren't really detrimental, right? We can have sugar cravings, and I do get sugar cravings. What I try to do when I have those is to go to something natural. Fruit. Flavored water. Now my flavored water, I don't even know what they put in it, because it's no sugar. There's nothing in my water. It's just flavored. So I don't know. But whatever I can do to satisfy or stop the craving when it's sugar without going to processed sugar, that's what I do. When it is an action, and sometimes, here's one, texting. When I text somebody and I'm waiting for their reply, it's like a craving. It's that connection. It's craving that connection. So what do I do in that case? So what do I do? I pick up my phone and I look and I put it down, and I pick up my phone and I look and I put it down. And then I finally realize, what are you doing? You are falling into that trap of needing something to fulfill me. So what's happening to me? Usually what's happening is that I have lost a sense of myself. I've lost a sense of who I am and what do I need to be doing in any given moment. That is usually enough to pull me out and bring me present to where I can make an assessment of myself. And usually the first thing I do is I'm not grounded. So I ground myself. I get grounded. Normally I will then, once I get grounded, I get connected. That's kind of an automatic thing for me, is to get grounded and then connect with spirit and really look. Why am I having a craving? Why am I craving connection? Why am I craving sugar? More times than not, it really comes down to a couple of things. Needing connection, like really needing connection. Maybe I've isolated myself for too long and I'm pretty good at doing that. Or an expectation. An expectation of either myself or of someone else. A lot of times it's an expectation that I've had of someone else that they have failed to live up to. Okay, there's all kinds of not right about that. Having expectations around other people, expecting someone else to bend to what ideal that we have, is not in our highest good. It's certainly not in their highest good. And having expectations of ourselves is not in our highest good. I swear I am in this lifetime here to master. I won't master it. I am here to work on mastering not having expectations. It was, I think, November of last year. I wrote a short blog about expectations. And I want to read to you. I'm not going to read the whole blog. What I want to read, actually, you know what? I think I am going to read the whole blog. Why not? Okay. Expectations. One of the most detrimental yet most human experiences. We have all had expectations of ourselves, other people, situations, and even items. We set low expectations to save ourselves from disappointment, or we set lofty expectations with the hope of success and pride. We also set unrealistic expectations with the intent of sabotage, whether it's self-sabotage or sabotage of others. Ugly, yes, but it is something most people have done whether they know it or not. Learning to live without expectations is one thing my current path has me working out. I am quite sure it will be a lifelong endeavor. It's going to be a multi-lifetime endeavor for me. My guide, Cowboy, brought to me the realization that I take expectations to a different level altogether. I think I know what other people expect of me. How is it that I could know what others expect if they have not told me? The simple answer is ego. The expanded answer is ego. I began to believe that everyone thought the same way I did, including but not inclusively expectations. If I had an expectation of myself, everyone must have that same expectation. If I had an expectation of another person, then they had to have an expectation of me that would warrant my expectation of them. Okay, convoluted, right? So convoluted. It is understandable if you need to read that again, because it is twisted thinking at its finest. Convoluted even. Ego hard at work. It's true. I admit it. Letting go of the belief that I know what anyone's expectations of me, of my behavior, or anything about me is necessary to change my thought process. Okay? Letting go of that belief is what's necessary. Cowboy tells me that changing the way we think is pivotal in realizing freedom from the chains created by carrying expectations in the first place. Finding peace in neutral, a place of no expectations, is a process of progress, not perfection. When expectations are held, a barrier from the truth and reality is created. No one wins when expectations are put on us. If the expectation is low, we can begin to think that the expectation is the goal. And if the expectation is high and not met, self-doubt and judgment can eventually take over, creating a new dynamic and wounding. Whether we are the ones with the expectations or the ones the expectations are set for, no one is working for their highest good, making the truth impossible. And that that was from a blog in 2021 about expectations. That's not what I was looking for. What I was looking for was this quote that came from a blog titled Peace in Neutral. And I'm not going to read that whole blog, but what I wanted to read was this. Expectations are not the catalyst for growth, progress, or success. They can be a deterrent and even a cause for self-sabotage, procrastination, or stagnation. Expectations can lead to perfectionism, and the term perfection has been misconstrued in translation from a feeling to an item, to a thing, that something is attainable. Perfection is an awareness that comes from the soul, like love, compassion, or joy. Expectations put limits on our efforts. When we have an expectation of what something is supposed to look like, we get into ego to try and force things into what we think it should be, and we stop listening to our intuition, to our personal guidance. That was a direct message, again, from my main guide, Cowboy. And it's no accident, I guess, that I pulled up the expectations blog and read that. It mentioned peace in neutral. But my whole wanting of reading that in relation to cravings is when we crave something, that's because something is missing, and it's usually something internal. It's usually something deep within us. There's a hole that's not filled. There's something missing, and we try to fill that with something outside of ourselves. And very rarely does that work. And when we are in expectation, when we hold an expectation, it's not uncommon for a hole to be found or a hole to be created. It stands to reason that if we have an expectation, we're setting ourselves up to fail, because expectation gives us a preconceived notion that we know something we don't. And it sets us up to look outside when what we really need to do is look inside. Expectations, perfectionism, both of those are a recipe for disaster. a recipe for cravings, because when we try to be perfect, again, we're setting ourselves up for failure, because perfection isn't something to be attained. Perfection lies in love. Perfection lies in compassion. Perfection lies in the joy that we find with connection with another person. The connection between our human heart and our soul. That's perfection. And it's not something that we can fill through a craving for an outside source, whether that craving is an action or a substance. It just can't fill us. That kind of leads me to a question that I've been asking myself recently about happiness. What is happiness? And am I happy? And if I'm not happy, why aren't I happy? Because it had crossed my mind that I'm not happy. And I really started to look at that. And then I had to ask myself, what do you not have in your life, or what's missing in your life to keep you from being happy? Well, there's nothing in my life to keep me from being happy. I am happy. The real question was, am I fulfilled? And the answer was no. I'm not fulfilled. And the simple answer to that is because I have expectations. Once again, I have fallen into expectations of myself, of my husband. Sorry to say that, but it's true. I had expectations of my husband. I had expectations of my life. And because I had an expectation of my life, that was opening me up to some other cravings to try and fill those expectations, to fill that empty space of fulfillment. And when I realized that I had those expectations and I was able to begin to let go of those, my whole vibration changed, my energy changed. And all of a sudden, I look around my life and I see fulfillment everywhere I look. So it wasn't really a matter of me not being happy, me not being fulfilled. It was strictly the fact I had expectations, and those expectations weren't being met. That's on me. That's my wounding. That's part of me not wanting to be accountable. That's me not wanting to take responsibility. Because as soon as I let go of the expectation, I've already been accountable. I've already been responsible, and it's right there staring me in the face. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful life. It's a wonderful life. Pun intended, because there was a wonderful holiday movie that I watched. Well, I only watched part of it. It's a Wonderful Life. And it's the part that I watched was where Clarence, an angel, comes down to help this man find his purpose. he wished he had never been born, and so Clarence granted him that, and he got to see what the world would be like without him ever in it. And he had expectations. And when we can take those expectations away, life really is wonderful. Even in those places where it's not wonderful, we can still find ways to be gratified and in gratitude when we're just willing to let life be what life is. And when we are responsible and we are accountable for what we do. I'm not sure how I got off onto all of this from cravings, other than when we have a craving, it's because we have something missing. And when we have something missing, it might be because we have an expectation, whether it's of us, another person, or of a situation like me. I had an expectation of my life. And how unfair is that? That's unfair to me. That's unfair to everyone in my life, everyone I meet in my life, whether they're part of my everyday life or not. Having an expectation of my life suddenly puts an expectation on everyone that comes into it, whether it's someone I'm passing in the street driving or someone I come in contact with when I'm out shopping. It's not fair. So learning to let go of those expectations is ultimately going to help me fill those empty spots inside, and can hopefully help me avoid cravings in the future, whether those cravings are for alcohol, which was my drug of choice, or for connection, because when I get into that mode of expectation, nobody can meet that. So I isolate. I see a pattern forming here. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one that falls into that pattern of having a hole, trying to fill it, creating an expectation, everyone failing, isolating, craving, expectation. It's a catch-22. It's a hamster wheel. And it's one that is normal. It's what we do as humans. It's part of the human experience. And it's also something that we can, through healing and doing the work of healing, that's something that we can get beyond. Is it ever gone fully? I don't know. Probably not, because it is part of the human experience, and we're never fully healed. Not in our lifetime. When we die and we cross into the higher realms, in our spirit form, our spirit becomes fully healed until we make the decision to come back down and do another lifetime and get our ass handed to us, and we go through it all again to learn new lessons. And that's what it's really all about. Learning and expanding and becoming the best that we can be. So I think that's going to wrap it up for me today. I am grateful that you joined me. I'm Mari-Lyn. The Conscious Spirit Podcast appreciates you. Everything you need to know to find us, to learn more about us, is below. We are coming up on the end of 2022, and I wish you a very happy and safe new year. Bye.